All right, Becca, we're live. So, to start off, I want to thank everybody for listening. And I know it's been a while, but I'm going to get back into the interviews and everything. And to start off with, so if the listener, if you hear some noise in the back, just understand it's not being conducted out of Andrew's Pizza anymore. I'm doing this out of my place, so forgive the a little bit of background noise. So we're just gonna jump into it. I'm gonna introduce my guest today. It's Bekah, and tell us about yourself and about what you do and your business.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you, William, for having me on. Really excited to be here.
Nice.
And excuse me. My name is Bekah Rottenberg, and I run Brave Endeavors, which provides mountain bike skills for kids and adults, as well as strength training. Mm-hmm. And I am based here in Hood River, but my strength training can be worldwide because I do it online over Zoom, as well as some in-person coaching. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, I could start.
Where are you from originally? Are you from Hood River?
I'm not. Oh, got a little frog in the throat. I'm not from Hood River originally. No, mm-hmm. I grew up on the East Coast, right on the border of Massachusetts and Vermont.
Really?
Yep. Really small town. I like to say it has more cows than people.
Wow.
Which is probably true. 1,700 people, just small dairy farms.
Okay.
And yeah.
So was your family into farming?
A little bit. I grew up working on a dairy farm. There's a dairy farm about a mile down the road, and pretty much 8th grade through high school, on the weekends, I would get up super early and go milk the cows.
Really?
Yeah. And so I have always had a propensity, I guess, for getting up really early and doing hard work outside.
So when you say milk the cows, did you've it's not with a machine. You actually physically milk the cows?
No, it is 100% with a machine.
Oh, it is? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then, I grew up on the East Coast, and then kind of traveled after college a little bit. I did some research in Nepal on pesticide use, had a strong agriculture interest.
Really? And
so taught high school for a number of years, and then moved to Davis, California, where I got my master's in agricultural education. I was teaching at a high school there in Davis, and that's where I met my wife, Michelle, or my current wife. And it was her job, actually, that brought us here to Hood River. She got a job in the Dalles, and so we moved sight unseen, literally rolled into downtown Hood River with the U-Haul, towing the car with... You
had no idea what you were getting into when you came here?
A little. I mean, I had some idea. We basically were looking for places to live. Michelle was looking, that's my wife, for a job. And I was a teacher at the time, and so I had this idea of, if Michelle gets a job as a vet, I'll be able to find a teaching job somewhere within 30 minutes of wherever we live. And so she was like, hey, check out this place, Hood River. And I'd never heard of it. I looked it up online. The first line in Wikipedia was an outdoor enthusiast's paradise.
Yeah.
From flowing single track mountain bike trails to skiing the slopes in the winter. And I was just yeah, that looks great. Let's move there.
Yeah. Wow. So you came, now what year was that?
That was 2014.
Okay. All right. Wow. So from the Northeast to, you got your master's in, you said agriculture, right?
Yeah. Agricultural education.
Agricultural education. So what exactly is that?
That is FFA, Future Farmers of America, teaching kids agriculture and CTE, in high schools. Yeah. And
so did you teach at the high school here then?
I taught at the Hood River Middle School.
Okay.
Yeah. And I feel my education background, in terms of, I was a classroom teacher for 12 years. I feel that has had a huge impact on the way I conduct my curriculum with my mountain bike coaching, where I spend a lot of time thinking about what's the best delivery method for instruction for kids and adults on the bike. And it looks really different. Like the way I work with kids versus the way I work with adults is quite different, but I put a lot of intentionality behind it.
Now, what's different about teaching kids versus adults?
Have you ever worked with kids versus adults?
No. No.
Yeah. So I like to say that adults, it's 90% teaching, 10% riding.
Okay.
And then kids, it's the opposite.
Really?
So it's 90% riding, 10% teaching. And so the whole idea is that kids want to be moving. They want to be active, right? They want to do. And they learn through doing. Adults tend to be more cerebral. They tend to like to watch, listen, think more, and then do. And so with kids, I like to set things up where I prioritize fun. I prioritize confidence building and being kind, right? Like I want the kids to have a really good time. I want them to feel more confident and I want them to be kind to each other. And then it just is a matter of weaving the mountain bike skills in there, right? So we ride trails, we practice, we work on jumping, we work on cornering, but we make it super fun. We're not out there doing drills for hours. Adults, it's a little different in that, I break skills down, give like the how, why, when, and we practice, we session, we like do things over and over. And then at the end, like after 2 or 3 hours of solid focused skills practice, then we'll take it to the trail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what made you want to, you teach mountain biking skills?
Yes.
So how did you get into that?
That's a good question. So I was teaching here in Hood River at the middle school, and I was just starting to feel like I wasn't having positive interactions with kids. And for teachers, the kids are like the highlight, right? Where it's like those personal connections, those interactions. It's like, that's why any teacher teaches. And I would see kids outside, walking around like outside mics or something. And I felt like I wasn't really excited to see them and they weren't really excited to see me. And that had never been my experience before with teaching. Like I was always excited to see the kids. I felt like they were always excited to see me. I mean, there was always that one or two kid that they didn't want to see you and you didn't secretly really want to see them. But for the most part, it's
no
like,
names.
No names. No, no favorites either. It just wasn't feeling good. Like I just felt like I was on the hamster wheel. And the other thing that was going on with me, and this is a hard thing for me to say and to talk about, but my job had been reduced to a 0.8, meaning like I was just below full time. And it was because I couldn't pass a math test.
Was this the teaching job? Okay.
Yep. And so kind of one of the big themes in my life is I'm a really good athlete. I really struggle with academics. And I've wrestled with that really my whole life. And I've worked really, really hard to prove to myself and to everybody else who doesn't care that I can be the academic. And yeah, so I was, hired to teach a certain number of classes, one of them being a math class. And I didn't have the proper credentialing to teach that class. And, the district tried to work with me and I got this like emergency credential to teach it for a year. And then I like co-taught for a year, and the district was super accommodating. And I tried to pass this test 3 times, spent a lot of money, a ton of time practicing. Like it was not for lack of trying, and I couldn't pass the stinking test. And so I didn't have a full-time job. So there was that, the, lack of positive interactions with kids. And then simultaneously, I was just seeing opportunities pop up of like, mountain bike coaching or full-time lacrosse coach or fitness training. I was just seeing these other possibilities kind of out on the horizon, like in the periphery. And said to myself, it's now or never. Like, I'm either going to stay in the classroom until I retire, or I need to make the move. Mm-hmm. And it was really scary, to leave
a steady job,
really good benefits.
Even if it's not going 100% well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, I was in Sedona, met with a psychic, like really freaked out by the whole thing.
You're going to have to forgive me. Where's Sedona? Is that Arizona?
It is, yeah.
So,
yep.
Okay. So you were so freaked out about doing this that you met with a psychic to see if you should, can you go into that? How was it? Bit. How was the experience of going to, like...
I mean, I shouldn't say I made my decision 100% based on that one session, but, it's more, I think, a testament to where I was at and how uncertain I felt about this decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Your stomach must have been in knots over, like, so you were a teacher here and then you went down to Sedona. Like,
no. That was a spring break mountain bike vacation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what were your first steps in getting the business up and running?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was definitely slow. So I left my job, left teaching in 2018. That was the last year I taught in the classroom. And then I had a job. I had like 18 different jobs.
Really?
I was coaching mountain biking. I was working at the local gym, the power station. Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Cheno.
Shout out to Cheno and Jerry, for sure. And I mean, honestly, huge shout out to Jerry McMaster, the owner, because she really saw the potential for me to work in the world of fitness and personal training. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge help for me to know I had some direction and a place of employment, leaving a very stable position. Yeah. So I kind of spent the year, like 2019, getting my personal training certification, doing a lot of contract work. So coaching mountain biking for a bunch of different organizations. Mm-hmm. And building my business, but really the business started, so Brave Endeavors, it initially started just as a way for me to have an LLC for tax purposes because I was doing so much contract work. And I had this sense that I was going to break out on my own and it was going to grow. I didn't know in what direction. I didn't know if it would be mountain biking. I didn't know if it would be, more gym focused. But I wanted to do something that helped people find and grow their own confidence. And for me, that has always been through the avenue of athletics and connecting with your body. And so that's really become my mission, is to help people feel more confident in their own skin. And as I like to say, on and off the trails. So on the bike, we can find confidence and take what we learn through mountain biking and then apply that to the home, to the workplace, or just to the way that we move about as humans.
Can you go into examples of some great lessons that somebody could potentially get from mountain biking?
Yeah, totally. So if you think of, as I like to say, an obstacle in the trail, right? So it might be like some steep rocks that are scary and chunky. And you know you want to ride them, but you're like, I don't know how to approach this. And so what I like to do is to break it down into smaller steps. And so take the same feature, like big, chunky, scary, steep rocks, and do something a little bit smaller. And so build confidence in a slightly smaller feature, which we can redefine, or if it's an obstacle, as you build confidence riding over it, I like to then say it becomes a feature. And then, so you scale it, right? So it starts small, and then you build up. And then you recognize what's happening in your mind as you're dealing with these different obstacles, right? So when it's small, you're like, no problem, I got it. And we break down, what are you doing with your body? right? And then you take that same skill set to the slightly larger obstacle. And through that way, you build confidence in your body. And so then it's like, okay, how can that apply off the trail? So you have an obstacle, and maybe it's fitness, maybe it's trying to get a raise or something. How can you do something small, right? So if it's fitness and you're trying to, let's say, run more, can you start with a walk? Can you start with a 1 mile run, right? So start small and scale.
Yeah. No, totally. And but I imagine in mountain biking there have been times when like you're gonna fall.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you learn, right? Every time we fall, we learn. I've had some massive crashes.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, as much as you don't want to fall necessarily, sometimes what happens is you fall and if you're okay, it's almost this release where you're like, oh, I can fall and get back up. And then you can break down what happened. Yeah.
So can you go into like, what are some of your worst falls?
Some of my worst falls? Well,
hopefully no broken bones or anything.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's a funny thing. Oftentimes breaking a bone is actually better than something else that can happen.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I would rather, knock on wood, because I don't want to get hurt at all. But like, you could have a really clean bone break and that can heal really well and really quickly versus like a ligament tear or a dislocation, which can tear ligaments. Like that's going to be a much worse injury. But yeah, I broke my elbow and dislocated my elbow. I've had a grade 1 AC joint injury. It definitely happens, right? But it's like, just like anything, there's risk involved. So I try to not focus on the injuries. Yeah. But I guess getting back to one of your original questions about kind of how I got the business going, it was really the pandemic that kind of pushed me to go out on my own. Where I was like that classic example of I had all this work lined up for March, April, May 2020. And then when the pandemic hit, like literally all my contract work dried up. Like I had nothing. The gym closed and then all the mountain biking jobs I had just disappeared. Wow. And so that's really when my own business grew legs and started to take off. And I started doing, classes via Zoom, and then coaching small groups of kids, like 3 or 4 groups of kids out on the trails, and then started doing private lessons as well.
You were doing classes on mountain biking through Zoom?
No, yeah, I can see how things get confusing. So there's like the 2 main arms of my business. There's strength training and mountain biking. Gotcha. Yeah, and so the strength training classes I was doing on Zoom and still do. And then the mountain bike coaching on the trails. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah.
Sweet. So, so the rest is history. And then like, now, what would you say to somebody who, is mountain biking only for like a super fit person, or can somebody of all fitness? I mean, can people of all fitness levels join your class? And like, how do you approach
Definitely.
that? And so another question I have too is like, so do you provide the bikes, or does somebody have to have their bike before they come to your class?
Right, that's a good question. For my programs, for kids and adults, you need to have your own bike. Yeah, you can definitely rent a bike or demo a bike. And I've had folks do that either through Mountain View, demoing a bike, or through Hood River Mountain Bike Adventures. Another program that I do is with Culture Seed. Are you familiar with Culture Seed?
I'm not. I've never heard of Culture Seed.
Yeah, so it's a nonprofit. They're based in Skamania County, and they provide outdoor programming for underserved youth in the Columbia Gorge. And so 2 years ago, I partnered with them along with Hood River Mountain Bike Adventures, Greg Galliano. And so we have teamed up to do these mountain bike outings with Culture Seed youth.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those outings, Greg provides the bikes,
mm-hmm.
which is super cool. And we're super fortunate. I feel like that partnership has coalesced in a really nice
Is that
manner.
just for kids, or can adults do? It's mostly for kids.
It's just for kids.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so there's kids who are essentially enrolled in the Culture Seed program, and they have different cohorts.
Mm-hmm.
And so we work with the different cohorts to do these mountain bike outings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's dive a little bit into your other arm, the strength training. So did that start when you were at the power station?
Yes.
Okay. And where can somebody find information? Just I imagine through your Instagram, of course. And what do you specialize in anything as far as like strength training?
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, information can be found on my Instagram or my website, ridingbrave.com.
Mm-hmm.
So I specialize in full body workouts that are for mountain bikers. That being said, if you're a human, you have a body, and you're an athlete, you can benefit from my workouts.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones that I do online, like on Zoom, you need 2 dumbbells and a cooler.
Okay.
And then they're two times a week, 1 hour each. And I work around these 5 basic movements. So a squat, so lower body, knee dominant movement. So some sort of a squat, a hinge, which is some sort of or form of a deadlift, an upper body push, an upper body press, and then core work. And so every workout is built around those 5 movements. And then I incorporate a lot of what I call mind-body connection. So working body coordination, a lot of kind of speed, reflex stuff, and then balance and stability as well.
Okay. Now, do you do any nutrition advice at all? Or
I don't formally do nutrition stuff. I've done some nutrition coaching. I love nutrition. I love talking about nutrition. I don't love coaching it. Because
why is that?
Yeah, because it's really hard.
Yeah.
And it's really slow. And it's really emotional.
Really? Explain.
I mean...
People just don't want to, or people take it personally?
It's not that they take it personally. It's that food is really emotional, right? I mean, there's a lot of stress eating or lack of eating when you're stressed. Food is really social. Food is really cultural. And if people want to make changes in their physique, in their performance, in their nutrition, it's so much more than just the science and just the numbers, right? It's like this whole emotional component that you need to wrestle with.
Right.
And so I very quickly start to feel like I should be a psychologist when I'm doing nutrition coaching. And so that's why I prefer to just sort of informally chat with folks about it.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of psychology, I imagine, in there, because especially being here, there's like if, let's say, for example, if somebody doesn't want to drink, well, most social groups, it's social. We got a lot of breweries and everything, so it would be difficult, and a lot of great places to eat too.
Right.
And that temptation is always there, especially if you're trying to cut alcohol.
Exactly.
Right. So I can definitely see that. I think we've all been there where, we were just talking about the stress of what's going on with the job. It's super stressful. I get the whole wanting to sort of comfort your brain through food. So I completely get it. I've been there. I'm sure, you've been stressed to the point where you said you wanted to consult a psychic on what you should do. Right. So I mean, we've all been there. So, but I can see that nutrition is really hard to sort of nail down. So speaking of food, what generally, what is your diet like? What do you do?
Yeah.
To stay healthy and fit.
Yeah. I've spent a lot of time kind of refining my diet, trying out different things. I actually have a blog post on what I eat in a day that kind of gives people an example. I like to say I'm plant-based with meat.
Okay.
Because there's a huge cultural shift right now in terms of a lot of things being plant-based.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally think that the more simple your food is, the better. Meaning the fewest ingredients, the least processed. So I eat a ton of vegetables. I eat a lot of whole grains, and I eat a lot of meat and dairy. I ate a lot of dairy also.
Growing up on a dairy farm, you have to.
Yeah. Yeah, but I have, I've run the gamut from, I was vegetarian for a long time. I didn't eat any red meat for a very long time. And now I try as much as I can to get my meat from high quality sources. There was a time...
I'm sorry. So in other words, you're super, super picky about meat. It has to be like the absolute best, right? And otherwise, your default is maybe vegetarian.
So if I am in complete control, yes, I would say I am super picky. But at the same time, if I'm out or if I'm at a friend's place, I will eat whatever they have. And I'm not going to be like, oh, that cow didn't grow up on a pasture. And, there was a time in my life where I maybe would have done that, but I'm definitely beyond that at this point.
The other thing too about like sort of, this is like 10 years ago. I experimented with being like vegetarian for like a week, I think, and I couldn't do it because even if I wanted to, again, it comes back to all the social settings, and oftentimes it's like you're just starving and there's nothing but everything has meat in it, and you can't, not only that, but I think like I was going through this like phase where, like it just didn't feel right. You feel like strange, and I think I need protein and meat. Well, I know you can get protein from plant-based sources too, but for some reason, like I think my body felt a bit off. I don't know if it was going through like a phase where you like there's sort of this like wall that you have to break through in order to feel good on a vegetarian diet, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Like like if you're gonna eat meat and stuff, try and choose like the highest quality stuff that you can. So yeah, I totally get that. But so that being said, like what's your typical day look like for shopping and like eating
for food?
Yeah.
Let's see. So I eat a lot of meals. I've been eating a lot of oats for breakfast. So, and I guess another thing I'll say is I always try to eat a balanced meal, which means there's always protein, there's always some form of carbohydrate, and then there's usually some healthy fats in there. But I've done a lot of work in terms of figuring out what those ratios are that work for me and try to stack them around my workouts. So for example, this morning I made oatmeal, but I had some egg whites in that oatmeal as well as casein powder, which is a form of protein powder. It's a dairy-based protein powder. And then there's like a banana and some dried figs in there and some balsamic vinaigrette.
Was this blended or did you just cook it on the stove?
I make it in my rice cooker.
Okay. That's yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's get into that. That's really interesting. So you cook all this in a rice cooker? Okay.
Yeah, I have like a really fancy rice cooker. It's the Zoji Rushi, and it's got a timer so I can put it in the night before, and then at 5:30 it's done.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I'll have oats for breakfast, and then I'll have some sort of a snack. Like I'm probably not going to eat until about 12:30 today after I'm done training clients. So I've got like some pumpkin seeds and some walnuts or something. So some healthy fats in there. And then for lunch, I'm probably going to have leftover dinner, which was spaghetti squash with some homemade pesto and meatballs. So grass-fed beef, ground beef.
Good.
Yeah.
Homemade pesto.
Yeah.
Like, share the recipe here.
Yeah, so my wife makes the pesto every summer. We grow a bunch of basil, and she makes it with spinach and arugula and walnuts and Parmesan. Oh. Yeah, and then we freeze it in like muffin tins, and then just pull it out all year when we need it.
So is this? Do you make it only? Do you sell this at all? Or?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah,
because that sounds so good.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I'll typically have a snack in the afternoon. And this is something that I was just talking with Michelle about this yesterday, that I feel like so many people I talk to, they're like, yeah, I'm like starving at 3:30. And then they do what I call the delay game, where it's like somewhere between 3 and 4 and you're super hungry, but you're trying to not eat because you're waiting for dinner. And I'm like, just eat a snack, like eat a legit snack, like have an apple with some peanut butter, right? Or have like a piece of turkey and on toast with some avocado. Like my go-to snack is usually cottage cheese or Greek yogurt with some fruit. Like, so cherries, I know you're a huge fan of, you know, talking about what's local. Like we get 50 pounds of cherries every year from Little Bear Farm in the Dalles. We pit them, we freeze them, and then it's like cherries on cottage cheese or yogurt. That's my go-to snack. So, and then what are you looking at there? It's like really good source of protein, great carbs from the cherries, and then if I want some extra fats, I'll throw some nuts in there.
Do you guys shop at the farmer's market at all?
You know what? I used to shop at the farmer's market when I first moved here. And then when they moved it, I actually haven't gone since they moved it.
Yeah. Well, are you talking about when they moved it to the waterfront?
Yeah.
Well, I think they're going to move back. I think in spring they moved back to the parking lot in front of Full Sail.
Okay.
I think, and there's a ton of great stuff there. I love the farmers market. I was actually there this past Saturday. I actually posted this Grasslands Barbecue. Had the most amazing breakfast. They had smoked a beef brisket the night before, and then they made eggs, I think, Benedict.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, I haven't been to that place, the Grasslands Barbecue, and I've heard it's really good.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it, especially in summertime. I think last summer, they had sweet potato mash with like some jalapeno, if I'm not mistaken. And their smoked products are very impressive. But then again, I love smoked meat too. So, so I saw something. So I saw something going through your Instagram. I'd like to just kind of ask a few questions on. I saw you had like a post with all these like books that you read.
Oh yeah.
So that being said, which one was your favorite? Or maybe like a couple favorite books and why? Which one had the biggest impact? Which one would you recommend for like sort of like a good motivational book for somebody?
Sure. Yeah, I love that question. So reading, it's interesting. As a teacher, I didn't read.
Really?
I didn't consume books in any form other than the textbooks that I was teaching. And then once I left the classroom, I feel like I've become this voracious reader. And part of it, I think, has also been the advent of just books available on audio, because I listen to the vast majority of the books that I, quote unquote, read. But I would say The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I'm actually rereading that one for the second time right now. That book has had a tremendous impact on me, and just the way that I feel like I move through the world and how I can have an impact on the world and interact with other people. So I would highly recommend that one. It's definitely in the like personal improvement genre. So that book, let's see. What's the one? Oh my god, I'm blanking on the name. It's all about the power of your mind and your athletic performance. How Bad Do You Want It by Matt Fitzgerald. If you are an athlete and looking to looking to improve, looking to push past struggles, I would highly recommend that book. And even if you don't consider yourself an athlete, I would check it out because he just has all these phenomenal examples of mind over matter, right? And that what the science, what the stats say you're capable of, you are capable of so much more if you set your mind to it. So that one was really good.
Yeah, say the title again.
Yeah, it's kind of a goofy title. How Bad Do You Want It?
Okay.
By Matt Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw like a couple other. I saw one in there that was recommended to me before. It was called Boys in the Boat.
Oh yeah, that one was great.
I haven't read or listened to it, but somebody else recommended that I do. I don't know, what is that about?
Yeah, it's about the crew team from the University of Washington who goes and competes at the Olympics in Germany during World War II.
Oh, wow.
And what's cool is, it's the University of Washington, so there's like a lot of local references.
Right.
And yeah, there's some really great kind of anecdotal stories about the characters. And I think even if you don't know or have much of an interest in crew, you find it really interesting. Yeah.
Cool. Have you ever done rowing?
Not
any water sports for you?
Not really. I did do a winging class last summer, like a lesson on winging.
What is that?
That's the whole thing where it's the new water sport that's like taken the world by storm.
Yeah.
And I'm not a water sport person, at least not yet. But so you've got the board, and then it's sort of like the sail that windsurfers have, except that you hold it, so the sail isn't attached to the board in any way, and it inflates.
Oh, like this is not on land. This is on water.
It's on water.
So the reason I ask that is because like you lately I've been seeing people around the parking lot there by the waterfront. They have this. They're on like a skateboard.
Yep. And
they have this like thing that they're this like kite that they're holding.
That's the wing.
Right. Yeah, and so that can be done on the water. You can use that same like wing on land as in water. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So when are we going to see like a wing for mountain biking?
Oh wow!
I'm kidding. I don't know, but don't put it past people to like try it.
Sure.
It'll probably happen here too. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right. So you put a wing on a mountain bike, and let's just see what happens.
Yeah. I know. I think all the trees might be a little bit of a problem, but maybe in a parking lot. Yeah, that's interesting.
Let me go out on a limb and say what they should do is have like that 2-person bike, right?
Oh,
and then
the
like
tandem?
Yeah, and then like the back person controls like the wing, and then the front person.
Yeah.
So little shout out to In Situ, get your engineers to like do that, make it like a new sport.
Yeah, right.
So I'm gonna get into restaurants that you love.
Okay.
What are your favorite restaurants here in Hood River?
Yeah. So date night is definitely Solilo.
Okay.
Love Solilo.
Uh-huh.
And then Freem, like, can't go wrong with Freem.
And what are your favorite dishes at these places?
My favorite dishes?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, William. Well, one of the things that I love about Solilo is their menu changes seasonally.
Uh-huh.
So it's not like
Gotcha.
We're never like, oh, let's go to Solilo and get the, fill in the blank. It's always like, oh, I wonder if the menu's changed. And that's actually something that we'll do just because we don't eat out that often. Mm-hmm. And so when we do, it's like we want to be wowed. And we want to have something new. Like we want it to be a new experience and be inspired. So there aren't necessarily like go-to dishes that I have or that Michelle has.
So when you do go out, it's an adventure.
Yes.
Because you have no idea what you're actually going to get.
There we go. I like thinking about it like that. Yeah.
It's like I gotta give a little shout out to 6th Street Bistro this past weekend, and I know I let Tamara know. They had the most amazing pho or pho.
Pho?
Pho. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh.
So I apologize for like butchering the name of that, but it was about $18 a bowl, but it was so good. I think that it took them about 12 hours to make this beef broth.
That's when you know it's
like
gonna be
like
good.
the taste and the flavor of like how the meat and the broth came out. It was absolutely amazing. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So hopefully they'll bring that back at some point. But I'll definitely check up on Salilo and see what they got seasonally, because that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and then my other food shout out would be Local Roots. Have you checked out what they've got going on?
Oh yeah. I've gotten a few things from Local Roots. They're amazing.
So good.
Yeah, they got like really high quality stuff. They make it right there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they like source, like do you know if they source locally or
as much as possible.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely check them out for like really high quality stuff.
Yeah, I'm psyched. So Local Roots is going to be one of the sponsors for my Friday night trail spotlights.
Oh, really?
This summer. Yeah. So I'm super psyched.
Friday
about
night
that.
what?
So they're Friday night trail spotlights.
What's that?
Yeah, so these are going to be, it's a coached mountain bike ride down a specific trail in Post Canyon.
Okay.
And it's limited to 6 people. Mm-hmm. It's a Friday night. And then the 2 sponsors are Local Roots and Freem. So you'll finish the ride, and then we'll have
Freem and Local Roots
drinks and food. Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's just going to be a super fun time to hang out.
Now, when does this occur again?
So the dates are all on my website, but
okay.
I'm doing 6 of them throughout the summer from May through August.
Okay.
Yeah.
And has spots already filled up or no?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. Two of them are full, but I have spots open in 4 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what's the cost to go?
$95.
Okay. But you get like Freem and Local Roots.
Yeah, and you get 3 hours of coached mountain bike riding.
Sweet. And this is around, like you said, Post Canyon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, like, on the topic of mountain biking, let's say to any listener that has absolutely no idea where to start as far as trails go.
Yeah.
Let's say they've got a mountain bike, they're coming to Hood River. What would you recommend, like, you know, let's say they only have like a couple days. What trails would you?
Right. So very relevant question, because a lot of people have that exact question when they come, and it's really hard to give an answer because our trail system is really difficult to navigate if you're not familiar with it. There's a ton of trails, and the signage is just really difficult to follow at the moment. So honestly, I would say either go with somebody who knows the trails or hire a guide.
Really?
Yeah. So you could hire a guide through Mountain View or through Hood River Mountain Bike Adventures. I think that's the way to have the most fun, and that's what I've started doing when I go somewhere else. So like I was in France last summer, and my buddy and I, you know, we were like looking on Trail Forks, looking on Strava on the heat maps, like talking to people and kind of just beating our head against the wall trying to figure out where to go. And finally we just hired a guide and had the most amazing day.
Really?
Yeah.
You went to France last year. Where in France?
Morzine.
Where's that?
It's in the Alps, so the French Alps, like right on the border. Of
and you went there to mountain bike?
Yeah. It was kind of just total vacation. It was amazing. It was some of the hardest riding I've ever done.
Really?
But amazing trails, incredible food. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And so did you take your bike? You
I did. I flew with my bike.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you got your pictures posted on your Instagram for that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, well, unless... where can someone go for information? Website, Instagram, and like...
Yeah.
How can they find you?
Yeah, so my website is ridingbrave.com and has all the info about my kid programs, my adult programs. So I've got spring programs for kids that are after school. Summer programs for kids are coming out in the next week or two. And then I have adult weekend skills clinics here in Hood River, as well as I'm going to be offering one in Portland, which I'm excited about. So all that info is on my website. You can also subscribe to my newsletter via my website, and I send out a weekly newsletter with fitness tips, mindset tips, mountain biking tips, as well as just updates on my programs.
Okay.
And then Instagram, Bekah_brave.endeavors.
Okay.
As well.
Okay. And any last minute shout outs to any local businesses here in Hood River?
I think I gave most of my faves. Treebird, I've got to give a shout out to them. That's where I try to source my meat from. Treebird, Mountain View, Freem. Yeah.
Okay.
Local roots.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. Well, thanks for coming out and doing the interview. It's been great. I'm sure that you've given somebody a lot to kind of dive into when they get into your website and your Instagram, and thank you very much for joining me for this interview.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks.